Hey, welcome to the Command Post and to FDIC Live. I'm Chief Rick Lasky, along with my good buddy, Chief John Salka, and we're joined by two very special people, a couple good friends of ours, very selfishly, very partial. My fire chief, Ryan Fetzer, and my captain, Chris Bashford from the Wichita West Volunteer Fire Department, where I proudly serve as a volunteer firefighter, chauffeur, floor sweeper, toilet cleaner, and paper towel restocker, and all that stuff. And but we're here back at Indy. It's Ryan and Chris's first time. John, you and I said it Wednesday, opening ceremonies. I turned around and looked because we're up in front, and I think pleasantly surprised is not appropriate at the crowd. I was like, forget the pandemic. This is after moving this and canceling this and postponing all this stuff. It was awesome to see the room pretty much filled with people.
Yep, great crowd, great, as always. And obviously, maybe a little bit less than one of the record years, but man, oh man, there was a lot of people there. The place was, like you said, largely filled, and
It's
everyone was
August.
excited. And yeah,
People are going back to school and people are moving and stuff and
yeah.
closing on their houses and coming here to FBI. He just bought he and his wife, one of our other firefighters, just bought a new house and they closed the day before coming here. That's how dedicated this guy is to FDIC and to training, and how much his wife really loves him and is actually the real chief. Like at my house, all those years, the guys call my house, my wife would answer the phone. They say, "Can we talk to the chief?" She says, "You talking to her? No, it's not in the budget." Same thing with this guy. And in his house, it's his little daughter that has him wrapped. But John, I'm serious. It's the middle of August, dude.
Yeah.
And the places, the hallways. I told you, I had to do this. You know how you have to put your head down because the moment you make out, everybody wants to talk. And we're flattered, but oh my God,
Good crowd. And it was like a regular year. Yeah, and all the special people were there, and all the whole show ran like a normal year. And we were there for both days. Of course, we saw the Lifetime Achievement. We saw Mike Dugan, and Chikarotis was great. He was a great keynote. Boy, it was just. I mean, all of them. We think both of us commented to each other on both days how every single keynote, every single speech, every single presentation was just great.
Steve Chikarotis was. We talked about it. Where I want my kids to watch it. Everybody needs, not just firefighters, need to watch his keynote because it's incredible. And then, obviously, the chief right now, the Courage and Valor Award going to Worcester, to that firefighter Worcester. That
Mike was great.
A hero who took care of his guy first and all that. Like a lot of people talk about this young man. God bless him. God rest his soul. Did, and then Mike Dugan, the Tom Burnett Lifetime Achievement Award recipient. Actually, it was funny how he said he's the only 3-year recipient because we kept pushing this thing back. And then John Alston's keynote and Larry Conley. It was just incredible. And then the award to Pat Kenny, Chief Pat Kenny, who's done so much for mental health awareness. And it was just incredible. Well, all right. Enough about that. First FDIC, and I can't wait to get you back here in April when there's like 36,000 people here instead of 20,500, whatever it is. Chief, what do you think so far?
It's been
I'm going in order here, 5 down to 2. So we're just, anyway.
I mean, you kept downplaying it that, it's not going to be regular, not going to be regular year. The expo is going to be down. Just attendance is going to we're
to all our fire engineering bosses, I wasn't really saying that, but go ahead, Chief.
It's overwhelming and got us hooked. I mean, it's great keynotes. Bobby Halton getting us fired up both mornings in his opening ceremonies.
He needs to work on it, doesn't he? We need to get him some like espresso or get him hang with Mark Venzer, you lieutenant.
Get him to wake up a little bit more.
We call Mark caffeine. So anyway,
but no, it's great. Like you said, the keynote doesn't apply just fire service. We went back and already sent our wives. Yes, my wife's in the fire service, but his wife's not in the fire service. Still going to apply.
Do your wives know each other?
See it.
John. All right. So I make the mistake. So on Facebook, you get the birthday wishes and stuff, and I see it's Militia Bashford's birthday today, and I already wished Becca, his wife's birthday that same day, happy birthday, and I come up for drill night, and I almost said, God, Melissa's birthday is the same as Becca, not knowing they're twins. I knew they're twins. I was just such a dumb ass. So anyway, but well, Chris, what do you think?
the opening ceremonies and stuff were amazing. I mean, I know people tend to overuse that word, but it truly was. And the caliber classes that I've taken, I mean, the only negative feedback I've had is I wanted more. Like there wasn't enough time to soak in everything for the class. So it's been a great experience.
Well, I know what made your trip so far was the Padre, the father,
Yes.
who the man is incredible. Chief Bobby Halton's relative, but retired Lieutenant Colonel from Vietnam. What, John? 3 Bronze Stars? Three Bronze Stars.
One with a V. Yep.
And then became a priest, and he liked your hair. He said he told us, so that's pretty awesome.
And what I found out talking to him, and I mean, I've known him for how many years we've been coming here? Years and years and years and years. But I did talk to him yesterday a little bit in the green room, and I found out, and of course, I think I already knew it, I think I already heard it, but I never really talked about it with him, that he had run a full military career as a civilian non-clergy member. He didn't become a priest until later in his life. He was a lieutenant colonel retiring from the military.
Airborne.
Absolutely, Vietnam, and he told me some funny stories. Actually, that I mean, everything he says is funny, but he told me some funny stories about when he finally did get into the church and started making his way into the process of being a priest, and how he had an interview with somebody somewhere at one point. I can't quite remember where it was or when it was, but it was an Eastern European priest, maybe from Poland or somewhere over there, and he asked him, "So what did you do before you came to the church?" You know, I killed people. Oh my God, you killed people! What was that about? He said, "No, I was a soldier. I was in the military." Oh my goodness! Thank goodness to hear that. And what were you? What service? What country? America. Oh, America. If you kill people with America, that's okay. That's okay. You kill communists, that's okay. You know. So, but all kidding aside, yes, that's the priest and he's got a count. He knows how many people he's killed. You know, and he's a Catholic priest today, and it's all fine. It's all fine.
And his 2 openings were incredible. But and it was funny because I told the story when Bobby Halt was the chief of Coppell, Texas, right next to me. He brought Father Kai down to bless the fleet, to bless the rigs. They were putting a new truck in service, some other stuff. And we went to lunch at Jason's Deli. We were there, and it's like all my day, like eight of my chiefs and Coppell's guys. And he just starts, like he does, telling stories and jokes. And my guys were like backing away. They're looking for like lightning bolts. And I go, I finally know what to do. I said, "You've never met an inner city priest, have you? Where I grew up, if the priests aren't that kind of down to earth and talk to you, they have to they work their way out in the neighborhood, and that's their way of grabbing a hold of you, and taking care of you and grabbing you to where you believe in them and everything. And
then I saw him hours later, actually last night before you guys showed up at the restaurant when I was waiting at Buca's. He came walking by with his jeans and his button-down shirt and his brown belt, and he was just out walking around in the street checking things out, and we talked briefly, but regular guy,
Well, so he said Buca's. Now you've been there before, right? What'd you think?
First time.
What'd you think of lasagna?
Never tried it.
Okay.
Yeah, you played it down. The cheers is so much better, so I didn't want to be disappointed there.
But Buca's is good, isn't it?
It was.
That is
great family
places.
style
As
Italian
always,
food.
as always.
It's just, and then some of the restaurants here closed because of the pandemic and couldn't stay, there. And one of them, I think the Ram closed and reopened with a new ownership, and people said it's great. And then you got some of the regular places, and
I did see some new ones. I thought I saw a couple of restaurants I hadn't seen before. So that's, who knows?
well, and some adjustments. I mean, there always is, with who does what, this, who does that. And I just think, John, you and I have been doing this for decades, literally. Each year it seems, you go, oh, it's FDIC, it'll be the same. And they change something to make it easier. Like when they brought up the app years ago on your phone, you got everything in your hand. I mean, it's just how everything from finding exhibits to what's on the exhibit floor. And
Even Buca had the app for the menu, which was very convenient. It used to be easier looking at the wall, to tell you the truth. But they
exactly. And you got cutting edge stuff out there. So out of your class, I know you guys have been to a bunch of classes. Well, little shameless plug for our friend Rob Reardon from Duxbury, Massachusetts, the deputy chief at PIO. Chris is not only our captain over training, typical volunteer officer, captain over training and safety and now PIO and about 10,000 other things. But I mean, that guy's pretty incredible, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it was nice to some of the stuff he talked about. We currently practice, and so it kind of reassured us that we're on the right track. But I learned some other things that just make it a whole lot better.
well, and he said when I told him about you, he went, right away. That like you would. He looked. He goes, "Hey, they're doing a pretty good job." I said, "It's not they, it's he. He's doing a pretty good job, posting everything." And then he conducted a class last night for
Oh, it was an eye opener for me.
Sir
My wife's been
Technology.
trying,
down
and
there.
you've been trying. A lot of people have been trying to get me to get on Twitter and be a little bit more, able. And listen, if somebody really knows what they're talking about, I can turn on and listen. But sometimes my wife and even Rick tried to show me a few things, but I just didn't feel confident. And he was just so technical and so squared away on it last night that I've been on it all.
And
I've been on it all
he
last night.
explained it in
today.
such a way that you can grasp it. Some guys, I could explain, and the more they talk, I'm like, you already lost me.
Right.
And
Right.
not him. He knows
And it
how
was
to.
so clear for me and for Tom Merrill, who
Tom
was there
Merrill.
with us last night, both of us. And I posted something about my 9/11 coin, my 20th anniversary coin. I posted
Well, let's
last night.
mention that.
I think it's
let's-
out to like
let's-
6,000 people now, and it's just great.
Let's mention that right now.
Yeah, well,
talk about the coin.
I have to look at the thing and
Pull
see.
up your.
Well, while,
tweet and
while
see
he's
what it
looking
is.
it up, if you need help with what you're doing with your PIO or with your social media, everything from SOP to what to do, what not to do, and how to do it, get a hold of Rob Reardon, Duxbury, Duxbury, Massachusetts. Get a hold of Rob. He teaches classes. I promise you won't be sorry. And probably more importantly than that, he will protect your department from lawsuits, protect your people from being fired for posting the wrong stuff, and just how to get the word out to the public about all the cool stuff you do. But
All right, so here's my coin information. If you're listening or you listen in the future, this is going to be, these coins are
Or
for
if
sale
you're
for the whole
watching-
year. It's obviously the 20th anniversary of 9/11, which is a tragic yet, important anniversary. And my group, we lost 5 guys. We lost 5 guys on 9/11 from my little town in upstate New York. And we built a beautiful monument with bronze helmets and everything else. Having said that, since then, a couple of guys have died of 9/11 related illnesses. And we're going to build another. We actually already ordered it, another piece of stone, black stone, that's going to be installed at the same monument, a little bit distant away from it. And we're engraving the names of the NYPD and FDNY and other folks that have died since then. So to fund that, we're selling 9/11 20th anniversary coins. They're just $20, which is the same price that we sold the 10-year coins, actually. And they're available at www.wbgny911. wbgny911.org. And you can order them, and we ship them out every other week or so. And
for the
beautiful.
collectors, don't you still have some of the 10-year anniversary
I
coins
do have
left?
some 10-year anniversary coins, and if you want a set, obviously the 20-year anniversary coin is $20, but we're selling the other one for 10 because we just have a few left over, and it makes sort of a nice collectible pair. So you're welcome to do that, and just let us know.
Beautiful memorial to begin with, and it's going to be that much more appropriate and wonderful to pay tribute to some pretty cool people
Right.
that gave it all. So we talked about Rob, and then who else do we have with us?
With Tom Merrill last night,
Tom
the
Merrill, who?
professional volunteer firefighter.
He has the column and the podcast.
Column and a
the web-
podcast and all sorts of other stuff. I visited Tom, interesting story. It's a couple of years ago now. Tom's deputy chief, called me up and said, "Hey, our chief just loves you, Chief Salka. He mentions you all the time. Chief Salka says this and this and do this and don't do that." And he said he's getting out as chief now. They're having his annual dinner that he's going out on, and we'd love to surprise him with you at his table. And can you come up? Well, we'll tell him we're having a little seminar with you. And they did. They ran a seminar that morning. I drove up and I gave the seminar and met him. "Oh, congratulations, Chief. You're going out good. Enjoy your party tonight." But I stayed afterwards. He thought I was going home, and I was sitting at his table when he came out with his wife. In the volunteer fire service, depending on where you are, certainly up there in Long Island, they have quite large ceremonies. They have these big, beautiful annual dinners. It's almost like a wedding, And I sat there with him and met Tom for the first time. And before the night was over, he was asking me, "Gee, I have some professional volunteer firefighter articles I've been writing. Any chance of getting them on Firehouse?" And of course, my dear friend Harvey Eisner was alive at the time at Firehouse, and I got one on Firehouse. It wasn't on the magazine, but it was on the firehouse.com. And However, it happened. Tom ended up hooking up with Bobby, and he's been publishing with Bobby and teaching here at FDIC for a couple of years now. And I think he's moving towards getting a book. I think he's got quite a large collection of classes and programs. I think he's going to have a book.
The professional volunteer fire
And
department.
I'll
We
tell you
stole
what.
them. We stole us fire engineering people. We stole them. We go
One class is better than the next, and they're all really interesting aspects of, like the firefighter spouses and all sorts of other angles on the volunteer firefighter fundraising and drill and training and officer selection and stuff like that. It's just really really interesting. Tom's a great guy,
No,
and he's a
you
fire
just-
dispatcher.
I was just gonna say, he's a great guy and he's a great resource. And, you mentioned our spouse, and you and I are very big about bragging on our families and our kids. So we have to take a on the air commercial break here to recognize a couple of children who are at home right now. I know two of them that are very big fans of the show Chicago Fire, which Steve Chikarotis was just here. Chick was supposed to join us for dinner last night, but when the cast members got sick, he had to rewrite the script. But Timmy Oak already made a connection. Not me, but El Chiefy here, his chiefness. Tim's going to get him, line it up, get him on the set, maybe introduce him to some people. But
Pretty cool.
so
It's beautiful.
you got to say hi. You got to say hi. Who's at home looking at you right now?
So I got my two boys, Ben and Max, at home right now. So they're actually not at home. They're on a camping trip this weekend. Snuck away with the grandparents. But yeah, they my oldest Ben, he's a huge fan of Chicago Fire. He stays on top of the episodes more than I do. And as soon as he hears that, he's gonna be thrilled and gonna be begging for a trip to Chicago now. So that'll be in my near future.
And we're fitting him for a little flak jacket out there. There's a little child, And then Chris, you've got your daughter with here's uncle, and I'm slowly eventually my goal is become the surrogate uncle, because she's adorable. But you got to say hi to Callie.
Hey, Callie.
And you guys are always at school because now with FaceTime, I love doing it with my granddaughter.
Oh yeah.
He's like, you get on there, and his granddaughter is already on the way to the Olympics. She's out there, Rachel's fitness.
18 months old. She's on a skateboard by herself going down the driveway.
And we're all panicking, going, "Oh my God!" And then they come Christmas. She's hanging from the
beam in
in his house, and he's like, and Brian's like, "Hey!" And Rachel's clapping, and then she's
rolling, flipping tires down the driveway, and
she's like, she already stand like this, waiting for her medal to be able to stand there for the gold and all that, and she's.
I mean, you got your little granddaughter that you already got swinging the bat, and
she's
got
already
the
put the ball in the tee, man. Doing some teamwork. She's trying to throw lefty. We're trying to get her to throw righty. She's hitting lefty, but she's trying to, So, and her dad's 6'9", so she's got the long finger. So, just for you softball player people out there, and you dads and moms, what I'm talking about. So, hey, so what's been your favorite part so far? If you could put your finger on one thing, besides bukas.
Yeah, the food's been good. No, I'll just have to say, the different classes, the instructors, the level of instructors there, and just the networking with them. So, it's not a one and done. With Robert and Chris, absolutely loved his class. We were lucky to go to dinner with him last night and stuff. And so we already made the connection, and we're looking at, hiring him, bringing him out to Texas to do more of the social media class for us, help us really get that extra bit that Chris felt he missed out on because, it's such a condensed class here. And
yeah.
so the network
it's hard.
has
Hour and
been
45 minutes is tough. It's tough. But, and, John talks about not only his FDOI pass, but he's the chief of South Blooming Grove Fire Department in Orange County there. And I have the honor of working for you guys now. But so for our viewers / listeners and that, Wichita County is about 10 minutes, if that, from the Oklahoma border. We're south of Lawton, I guess, if you will.
Our county borders Oklahoma and stuff. Our actual area is 22 miles from the border.
22 miles. And so we've got how many departments in the county, would you say?
We've got in the county total 11 departments, 2 career with Wichita Falls and Shepherd, and the 9 volunteer departments.
And we were kind of joking about this because obviously they get, the house fires in the area and the, different structure fires, but man, they love the grass fires. But the one thing about the grass fires in that county, it's like, it ain't no big deal. They pull up, he's like, well, I got 100 acres going. It's in some rough terrain. We're going to have some accessibility problems and all that stuff. And everybody else, it's like that water bottle's on fire to these guys. And I'm going, holy crap, we got to get those hose and rakes and Pulaski tools. And it's time for high-speed gardening in the smoke. And they're looking at drones and helicopters and planes dropping water. And I'm like, holy crap, Batman. And I'm just looking for snakes. I'll be honest with you. We just went on one. We assisted Iowa Park, and I get off with my captain here, Captain Bashford, and the chief says, "Oh, don't bring any tools. Just come here and help him." And I'm like, "Oh no, no!" I looked at him. I put on a long tool with very sharp things on the end, and I try to stay in the dirt away from where there's grassy. And I'm always like looking because I know there's a rattlesnake. I'll be the one. I'll be calling you. Where you at? I'm in the hospital. What? My foot's all so I got bit by a rattlesnake because you got him too. But you know,
But we had a nice cute pygmy rattlesnake in the station just about 2
I
months
know.
ago, and
oh, the night I go to turn in my application, there's blood on the floor. Oh, we had to kill a rattlesnake. I thought, oh, this is great. You know, I'm like, we're gonna be
They
shooting like
don't
the
eat
Animal
much.
Kingdom
They
stuff.
don't eat much.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
don't eat much. and all
they
that.
help keep the mice away from the station.
There you go.
What would you say to our guests? What would you say is the greatest challenge in the county? You know, we got the one career department, or the two, I should say. I'm sorry. No disrespect to our guys at Shepherd. Shepherd comes to all the fires and they work their ass. There
Absolutely.
is absolutely never a complaint from the Shepherd firefighters. They come to the fires, they work their butts off, they stay for the whole fire. They finish. There's some places that they come spray a little bit of water, and then when the real work has to stop, they leave. Not Shepherd. These guys work hard, and but what would you say are some of the greatest challenges there, you know, between the two of you for the county?
I'd say our first challenge is just, challenge I have everywhere is personnel, getting people, getting them engaged, getting, retention, get them to stick around and trying to get them trained. Volunteer side is real hard. There's not an academy right there in our area that we can say, hey, let's go to this academy. It's trying to do it all in house. So getting these guys, they're trying to balance their, regular paying career, family time, everything else, but pull them away and get them dedicated to the fire side to get trained and then get them to stay around and be there to run the calls. Funding's a big issue. Fundraisers, we do get money from the county, but it's not much.
Last through the pandemic, because so many of our fundraisers, like John, like yours, are, mass gatherings, and they're going, you can't do it, and all the departments were panicking, going, that's how we like a lot of our money. I mean, that's how we do things, And nobody was saying, oh, we feel bad for you. Here you go. Here's a shoebox full of money. I don't think anybody did. I mean, maybe Snyder, New York with Tom Merrill, but.
We had one of our residents was real good last year and did that. Says, hey, I know you just canceled that fundraiser. We had a pancake feed coming up just as the pandemic hit, so we had to cancel it. And one stepped up really and gave us, hey, I want to do this to help make up for what you guys just lost. But outside of that, it wasn't. We had to cancel our largest fundraiser of the year. We do craft show every year. Couldn't pull it off last year. Tried to make up for it by doing fill the booth. That way, there's social distancing and limited contact and things. But it was a challenging year just with the funding aspect of stuff, and you're still running the calls with extra.
Yeah,
PPE
it's not like, well, we won't go for a while. We'll wait a year till we get some money.
Yeah,
911 still rings, and I mean,
Well, even this year, our call count's way up.
Yeah.
Our average call, we're getting more calls with less money, but
yeah, go figure.
we'll make it work.
We're asking you to do, more with less. It's like the whole rubbing two nickels together, make a quarter. John, what with your volunteer department recruitment wise? I mean,
It's the same thing, staffing, getting people to join and to respond. Sometimes we have people on the roster that get a call at the wrong time of the day or too late or too early. Sometimes we get pretty light responses sometimes of the day, which I try and stay after them on it. I tell them, man, we got 35 guys at the company meeting at 9:00 eating hot dogs and hamburgers after the meeting. And 5 hours later, we get a call and 3 guys show up. I'm saying? Where's the other 35 guys? You know what I'm saying? But anyway, it's always been part of the deal. We've yet to fail to get a rig out. We don't even have to resound. Once in a while, I hear like somebody resounding, like you're being resounded for whatever, because nobody showed up and called out. Dispatcher calls a couple of times after like 3 minutes. If nobody calls, they resound the pagers and all that. We've never got to that point where they had to resound us yet, but that is the problem. That is the problem. And the world has changed. Never mind COVID. Before the COVID, the world was changing. A lot of people were doing different things. A lot of people were more engaged in, people used to just go to the job and then come home and be family guys or whatever. Now people have second jobs and other interests and hobbies. And
it was
they're just
okay in
not
the
around
old
anymore.
days to leave Billy's hardware store when the siren blew. Billy can't lose the money nowadays.
And a lot of people are not letting them go now. They're saying, no, you're the only guy in the store, and so like I said, it is what it is. And then COVID came, and then now a lot of people are working at home, even though they're home. Although actually, that's one of the new angles I'm going to try, and somebody might be interested in this. We visited a volunteer fire department recently down in Jersey, and they had the sign over the baluster at what was that?
Dunkin' Donuts.
Dunkin' Donuts, where you're waiting online to pick up your donuts. And all of a sudden, there's a thing that says, hey, want to be a volunteer
I
firefighter?
wasn't
And,
doing
you know,
donuts, I was doing coffee, but go ahead.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty interesting.
Oh.
And I'm thinking about doing the same thing, but adding something new. And I'm thinking about writing, hey, are you working from home now? And that's a direct COVID thing, right? Are you working from home now? How about checking out your local volunteer firehouse and putting in a few hours during the day to help us out?
Well,
Somebody might say, you know what? I always was thinking about that, but I was always working in the city all day and then coming home at night tired. Maybe I'll do that since I'm working home and some people are staying home now.
and get
too, you know?
them hooked. You know,
Huh?
once you get them in, they're hooked.
Absolutely. If I
Well,
got two new people, that would be a big thing for
And
me.
you and I, when we pulled up for our morning coffee, we're on our way to do our class, doing the company officer academy,
And there it was.
and we both looked at each other and went, what a great idea. I
Was that
posted,
Somerset, New Jersey?
yeah, Elizabeth Avenue Volunteer Fire
In
Department
Somerset, New
in
Jersey.
Somerset, New Jersey. If you want to see the pictures, scroll back on my Twitter, my Pride Ocean Facebook page. And then, so we're leaving and I want to pick up something for the road, right? And I go to the pizza joint and
Another great
they have
idea.
like 2,000 pizza boxes. The whole lid is the same recruiting
Instead
thing.
of the pizza guy's name on
Yeah.
it, it's the fire department.
And I
And
go,
they paid for the boxes and gave them to the guy, and the guy used them.
well, and
That's
we've
awesome.
seen some cool things. Remember we talked about the trailer, like the National Volunteer Fire Council, NV, nationalvolunteer.org. What a great, there's volunteer fire chiefs don't even know they exist. And the funding and the way they help people recruit volunteers and the recruitment trail. Remember we talking about that?
Mhm.
I'm in the firehouse and they're giving me the tour and I go, oh, is that like your pub ed trailer? He goes, it's our recruitment trailer. I go, what? He brings me over there. Here's this beautiful trailer, like a food like trailer, pub ed trailer with the wrap, right? The wrap with flames and their logos and fire engines. And he opens up the big side door like a food truck. It opens up and there's two big flat screen TVs and he turns them on. They start showing these videos, these reels. They just
Drills and fires.
drills and yeah, and they roll out. They got the props and gear and the
And
tools.
gear out there that you can
And,
try
and,
on.
and he goes, we drag this to every Friday night football game, every craft show, anywhere they'll let us drag this thing. And I thought, cool. But you know what's working with us is Chris always posts on social, hey, if you want to help, you want to volunteer. But one of the things you and I've talked about is, once in a while, a volunteer chief has to grab 2 or 3 of their all-stars and go, hey, Joe, come here. Or Mark Benzer, Mark, come here. Find me one more like you. Find me relative, neighbor,
I have been
somebody go to
saying that
church
for
with,
years.
coworker, little league coach.
One at a
Go-
time recruitment.
Yeah. And guess what's going on? We got Jim.
Yeah.
The veterinary- I mean, that guy is like-
He's
I-
eager. He came out his second night. He decided, hey, I want to help out more. So he registered for an online EMT basic course, going through that, noting how much different humans are than working on animals.
He's a
but-
vet, yeah, a veterinarian. But the only concern I have is me and my partner Joe Dillon, we're neck and neck with call numbers, and Jim's making a lot of calls now, and I don't know if I'm comfortable with that, Jim. With you kind
But
of
think about that. Think about the one-on-one. I thought about that myself. I said, I got a lot of guys, and I got a lot of guys that are a little bit older. They're the guys that aren't so active anymore. They still come around if they're around during the day. They show up on weekends, evenings until maybe midnight they're out. And listen, you got to take what you can get. But my point is, most of them are guys that work for the railroad there. They work for MTA, they're bus drivers, they're this, they're that. And they know a lot of people. They got a lot of neighbors. Not the kids are the kids. The kids bring other kids in. That's great. They're keeping our heads above water. But what I'm saying is if I get a couple of guys to get their neighbor, the guy who's a bus driver, the guy who works at the the train station, say, hey, why don't you come down Wednesday night? Let me just introduce you to a couple of guys. You'll get to know get some new friends. We have social stuff. We have picnics around the holidays. We have Christmas party. But you can also help your community. We got gear. You get free training. You can, you don't have to go to everything. You can go only when you're available. And I'll tell you what, something New York State has that's great. And I know it's a money item, but they passed it about 20 years ago when we were going through the same thing. They call it LOSAP, Length of Service Awards Program. It's basically a retirement. It's basically a pension. And the fire company or the district or the city or the village or whoever it is that runs your organization puts a certain amount of money per month into a little, not a savings account, but a financial thing. And if you make the certain amount of points, if you stay 50 points for the year, right, which is not a lot of points, you make enough runs and enough meetings and enough drills, all those points go in. If you make 50 for the year, you get credit for that year. And for every year that you make the 50 points, you get like $20 a month for the rest of your life. This guy's collecting a couple of $100 a month for the rest of their lives when they reach 62 because they were good, hardworking, active volunteer firemen. And I think that's great. I think that's something New York State has that's still working. And there's guys that are 50, 60 years old that are still staying active. Even though they retired from their real jobs, they're still staying active because they're getting a couple of bucks a month.
And the rare ones, you've got some, FTNY guys that do it off duty like you've done all these years. You know, we've got Destiny, one of our lieutenants, who's a full-time Texas Forest Service firefighter and a part-time soldier and working on her degree, among all these other things, to take care of the rigs. And Mark Benzer. And then we have Joe Dillon. Joe's a staff sergeant with the Air Force, assigned at Shepherd Air Force Base from Rockland County.
Right.
Next
And they
to
bring
you.
all those other skills with them. Now you got somebody that's
Volley from New York, so
Right.
they have a hard time understanding him there in Texas with his accent. But when you can't find those, I mean, I always want what got you going? Because you guys started almost.
We started a month apart.
What Chris? What got you? What made you think about being a volunteer firefighter?
My uncle is a firefighter now, and actually had two uncles in South Mississippi. I'm from California originally.
California.
No, it didn't sound like
I had
it,
no
but
idea.
I'm gonna look at our producer, Tammy, we may have to cut this show pretty short here all of a sudden. It's
The
just,
whole thing is ruined now.
you know, oh geez.
Start all over again.
Can I have a spark? Can I
write him
have,
out?
can I have a sparkling water and some grapes
Anything
and
that he
stuff?
said so far, we just.
Yeah, they got started in Northern California. I lived down in Southern California, and we went and visited them, their fire station one day. The little kids might have been 8 or 9, and I fell in love with big red trucks and everything. And one day when we were visiting them, they got a call. They all took off. I was like, that was amazing. And being family and stuff, just kept up with them and seeing everything that they've done and all that. And I knew that's what I want to do. And
You
2
know
weeks
when you
after
know.
2 weeks after I turned 18, in Texas, you have to be 18 to volunteer. 2 weeks after I turned 18, I went and found a department and joined, and we were best friends and got them to come out with us.
You know what? Well, Wichita West, which not only Wichita West Fire is fortunate. I'm glad you're in Texas.
Do you guys have, I meant to ask you and I haven't asked you yet, do you guys have any like junior firefighters or explore programs or anything like that?
So at our department, we do not. Within the county, there's none in the municipality that volunteer to fire department, Burke Burnett. They actually have done a fire explorers program in the past and stuff, and that helps feed them in there. We've had over the past couple of years, not a real formal program, but a couple junior firefighters. So if we've got people that are really interested in becoming a member, when they're 17, we've allowed them to come in, they can observe, they can do, training with us and stuff. Very limited on if they could go to any calls. It's usually going to be with
Which
chief
that's a
officer or
great
something, so they can get out there and
resource
see it. But
Attract young kids that are interested and.
yeah.
Oh, you and I loved when we get a chance to meet with the juniors programs, explorers, or the cadets. Like they'll go, we're bringing 10, or they'll go, can you stick around an hour? And after an hour, we get them by themselves and talk to them. And plus, over the years, you say this because we had our Explorer post 911 through the Boy Scouts of America over 40 years in Louisville, Texas. Was all the years I've been on the scholarship review committees for college, for high school kids, community service. Well, I stock shelves at the food bank. That's the easy one,
Mhm.
And then you see they were a police or fire explorer, police or fire junior kid. I'm like, so what did you, and they put down, we helped the public education events. We taught kids about that. I'm like, and God bless those that helped the food bank. Don't get me wrong. My kids did too, but I'm saying, wow, and so
The young guys are who saved my fire department.
Oh.
The young guys about 10 years ago, maybe not quite 10, but a couple of young guys started showing up, kids really. And, then they made 18 and they joined and, drill night, 3-4 bicycles outside in front of the firehouse, the kids that are just getting close to 18, 16, 17, or they pull up in their cars and I'm like, who are these kids? Well, they got applications in, chief, but they're not, but anyway, and then they brought more and then they brought more. Once they got in, a couple of their friends came by and said, wow, this is nice. And so they're really they're my officers now. I think almost all of my company officers are all guys that were the kids that we've been talking about for the last couple of years. They actually had a little coup. It was a little coup about 2 years ago in the elections. There was enough of them. They must have realized, holy shit, now they had a couple of years in, 2 or 3 years in, so they knew what they were doing. But they had a coup. They voted out a couple of guys with like 10 years and 12 years. And they all took over like 3 years, 2 years, 3 years, 2 years. And they're the guys jumping through the windows, making rescues from me
jumping
now.
through the windows that
Yeah.
you had 2 civilian grabs you guys made at fires.
Yes.
And they're the ones that you talk about all the time. I drive by the fires. They're up there. They're taking care of tools. They're building stuff. They're they're doing projects. and
Running
stuff.
great drills. I just wrote an article, the tool time, the one young lieutenant that he's a welder down in Manhattan, but when he comes home at night, so he runs drill on Wednesday night on whatever it is. And then towards the end of the day, he says, okay, guys, tool time. Put everything away and it's tool time. Everybody goes and grabs a radio or a tool or a Halligan or whatever. and they bring it back, and they all sit around on the apparatus floor in a circle, and he says, okay, Tommy, go ahead, what do you got? He says, oh, I got the radio, it's 16 channels, and it's low frequency, and we get this, and we work under our code, and blah, 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 blah. And then they ask some questions. The next guy goes, okay, I got a Halligan, and this is the ads, and this is the point, and they go around the whole circle. It could be 8 or 10 of them there that night. And then, okay, good, we're all good, put them away, we're done. And then the next week, they do it again. Obviously, they don't grab the same thing again. So even though some of the same stuff comes up, it's in different hands. Each kid ends up.
Because there's probably somebody going, oh, I do it. He didn't mention what I want to talk about, you know. I mean,
Or they ask questions. When a kid says something, somebody says, what's the other end called? You didn't say what the other end is called. Oh, that's the fork, you know. But anyway, it's pretty cool. And I get to do it. And I wrote an article, back page article for a magazine. And it came out, you know, I put it up on the board. They were like, hey, we're in the magazine. You know?
well, it's funny because Destiny messaged me on Facebook, our lieutenant. She goes, I just listened to your guys' podcast. We talk about old school. She goes, we need to do that at West. I go, talk to well, I said, talk to the cab. I said, talk to Chief. I'll bring the ideas up. You know, I mean, that'd be a great idea. How'd you get in? How'd you start? What sucked you into the fire service?
It really was Chris, but I, mean, I kind of had
you
the
did
interest.
the best buddy thing, huh?
I had the interest there. I mean, we had talked about it before. You know, growing up military, I'd always been around the fire stations on the bases and stuff. We had one of the assistant fire chiefs lived across the street from me when I was in Germany with my dad's last station there. And we got here, and I never really looked in volunteer. Didn't know much about the volunteer side of it, and you know, being best friends with Chris, he joined up. He was still a senior in high school at the time, but he turned 18, went and joined, and just hear him talk about it for his couple.
Who's older? He's older.
Yeah, I'd already graduated and stuff, but no, just hearing him talk about it, I mean, his second week, he was already out, you know, kind of making entry on a mobile home or an RV or something like that and stuff, and just how much he loved it. And it was 3-4 weeks later, I decided to come out myself. And
now you're chief.
15 years later.
How many years you have?
15 years now.
Chief with 15. That's good. How do you guys get, how do officers get picked, get selected?
So we've got minimum criteria, and then it's a voting system.
Election.
So election, yeah.
My least favorite, but at least you've got criteria. We had that in my volunteer fire department. Rather, we didn't have it. We just had elections. So it was just like Billy or Tommy or Mary, you know. But then we said, wait a minute. If you want to be an engine officer, you got to have essentials, engine officer, and, you know, ISO, whatever it was.
Yeah.
You know, and to be a truck, you had the same thing plus the truck officer. And to be the captain, you had the engine ones plus maybe an incident command thing or something. And so now you do. You have to have those classes to be eligible to even run for election. So if somebody nominates you, they nominate you, and then the committee looks and says, wait a minute, you know, they contact you. You're gonna have to get this class before the election, you know, and then there's an election. So it's not my favorite thing, but at least, you know, there's some support behind you when you win an election too. You needed some people that are thinking positively.
Absolutely. So yeah, we got the minimum criteria there, and you must meet the criteria before you can even be nominated. We do nominations following month. So at that point, you know, people can ask you questions, anything else.
And you got to follow the line. You got to be a lieutenant before you can be a captain, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
We really don't go up the ranks that way. That's a great idea to look at for us. I mean, we have something they could come in, and you know, I'm up for election this year, so I could get bumped out. You know, our line officers, lieutenants, captain are re-elected every year. Chief assistant chief are 2 years every other year.
So any person in the whole fire company can run against you, or do they have to be an officer already?
No, it could be anybody as long as they have the
Those classes.
required.
You see, we have to work our way up. You have to be a lieutenant before you can be a captain, you know?
That's a great idea to look at. You know, we just recently changed it. It used to be all 5 of our officers could change just like that 1 year.
And that could slow that down from happening. It limits the number of people that could just run for chief or run for captain. You have to be a lieutenant to be a captain, you know? And it assures that the guy is going to have, number one, the criteria. He's going to have a little bit of experience too. Some of the guys are firemen. He wants to be the chief. Well, that's nice. Did you ever run in the front seat? Did you ever ride in the front seat of an engine? You know, did you ever want a hose line stretch? Now you want to, you know, run the whole place?
Well, part of it, the dedication, I'm not trying to embarrass them, but I mean, you go up for drill night and it's like 5 o'clock and they're already there. He's already planning things and stuff. And the only way we'll ever beat him, you know, and probably our assistant chief on calls numbers is to flatten their tires, because I can't figure that crap out. It's like, you know, I'm like, you know, they're at 170 calls and the rest of us are at like 20, but that's, you know, they just.
What do you do for the year? How many for the year?
Our average last few years has been about 130. Our most was 2 years ago at 152. This year we're already at 110 halfway through the year. So we're on, and we haven't even hit a fire season in Texas yet.
Wow.
Yeah, surprisingly, we've been wet in North Texas. All of our fuels are nice and tall. The minute they dry out, it's going to start lighting off. So
can we make a point here? You've been asked several times at this conference. All right. I just, you know, on the air, let's make it official because it's recorded and it's, you know, live and all that stuff. I sweep the floors, I wash some hose, we clean the rope, I
He
do some
shovels
things,
snow.
I shovel snow, I do all kinds of stuff. Washed it. Ed Moore, good Ed, just left us, but Ed was awesome, retired from Cary and all that stuff. And, drill night, he's like, are we washing the engine? Well, if Rick's here, we're washing the engine. But so will you just look at the camera and say, yes, Rick Lasky does drive a pumper for you, Cap? Will you just say that?
Rick Lasky does and has driven brush trucks, engines, tender.
Does he
and all
drive
that.
too fast?
No,
No.
not
Not
according to
fast
him.
enough
Not
for
according
me.
to the deputy here, no. But now I gotta tell a story. So, I was a cop and a firefighter. Okay. And the hard part is separating the two when you're at a call, especially when you're wearing the police uniform. So we get up there, it's a car fully involved next to a house in Pinge. We got exposure problem stuff. Jump up there. Mark Venzer, one of my favorite people. Like I said, we call him caffeine because the guy's what a waste of espresso or cocaine or whatever it is. The guy's he's just like on go all the time. We get up there. He goes, "Come on, we gotta go. We got I can see the header, the phone. He's there. He's on duty with his patrol cars. The deputy's there, and we're driving. We're hoofing it. We're getting there as quick as we can legally, as far as you know. Anyway, so I'm coming through the intersection. I'm pulling up, and it's like when you're on the scene, and it takes forever, but it's not. And I'm looking at them through the window. I'm driving, and it's all these people, and they're just waiting. And I've got my hand on. I'm going, get back. It's like it's like we're gonna have to get off the rig, get off. It's like the Beatles are coming to town. All that stuff they're jumping on. So we pull up. I get out. He grabs the line to get it going for Mark, the lieutenant. And I put in pump, and I go to pull the discharge, and my captain, aka deputy sheriff. He's like, and I go like this. I just put my arm, John. I just put my arm on him, and I slowly push him. I said, I think I said,
It was like, hey, I got it.
hey, I got it. And as he's walking, I said, don't you have to go direct traffic or something? I push him. I go, no, I want to pull the knob and pump. And then I got your son out of your pickup truck.
Took some convincing, but
You know how we are about kids get involved. So his son's sitting in his truck because he listens to dad. Very awesome
I pull
children.
up on scene. I tell him, you can roll down your window. You're to watch. Do not get out of this truck.
Right.
Absolutely. Do not get out of the
Safety
truck.
zone, right.
Watch it. I turn out at one point, and he's standing there wearing my vest, my
helmet.
wildland helmet.
Oh, he told me this story. Yep.
Yeah.
He said so. My dad said, no, my dad said I should get a truck.
I go, I'm pumping. The guys are through the fire. I go, oh, bet. I go across to the car. He's in the back seat. He's got, his vest on, and he has his seatbelt. He has a vest over his seatbelt. He put it on afterwards. So I go, come over, help me. He goes, well, my dad said I'm supposed to stay in the truck. I said, no, you can come with me. He goes, no, my dad said I'm supposed to stay in the truck. I said, trust me, you can come with me. And then it was the seatbelt, the vest. He had to pull the vest off, put it back on. I go, come on. Then I had put my helmet. I go, just stand with me, be my helper at the pumper. And he's standing there. And then the next day I look, he's got his sunglasses on. He's standing there like this. I'm like, I got my
beaming.
helper.
He's
It was, but we're used to that. I got a picture of my little baby girl in the Bronx standing next to Uncle John in the middle of the street while he's running a fire. Man, we come with the
Yep.
gigantic pie.
Apple pie.
Emily's she wants to get out. She's standing in the Bronx with her uncle watching this fire and stuff.
I had to send Ben a picture of you guys at the truck and a picture of the fire itself, so he'd go to daycare the next day or school the next day and tell all of his friends, all of his teachers, they all knew that he got to help you pump
That's
the truck for
right.
this fire.
That's right. And he did better than some regular people I know.
What a great exposure for a young kid, Think of all the things kids can get involved in that are good or maybe some things not so good. So what a great experience.
Oh,
Get them on the
absolutely.
right, get them on the right track.
Obviously, they're great parents to their kids, their wives as well, and all that. Just wonderful. It's fun, and that's the thing I like about the volley department there too, John. Lewis was big. Our career department was like that, but it's a lot about family. 4th of July could be usually busy when it's not wet. So let's bring everybody up instead of just hanging out waiting for the fires.
Oh.
Let's start cooking out and having desserts. And I was running the grill. I got to run the grill with the burgers and the dogs and stuff. And everybody came up, and then they do their own fireworks show.
I'll tell you what, we built I don't know what you want to call it, out in the yard, a metal building, open all around except for the end is closed in, and that's just, it's not a kitchen or anything, but it's like a bar. It's got a couple of windows that open up. We got a fridge in there and everything else. And anytime they have a softball game, they come back and light up the grill and they're out there, and just about any excuse we have. We have Chiefs night, so we have Wednesday night's drill night. every Wednesday night we're there. Every Wednesday night, no matter how many Wednesdays are off, 4 or 5, we're there. So, the first Wednesday night drill, second Wednesday night company meeting, third Wednesday night drill, fourth Wednesday night drill. If there is a fifth Wednesday night, which I think only happens a certain number of times a year, that's Chiefs night. So they still come in, check the rigs, fill everything up, check the bottles, everything else, clean the tools. And then it's outside and light the grill and get some food going, and we'll sit upstairs in the,
But aren't those some of the
Bar.
things that keep them, I mean, instead of all work and no play, it's kind of like, you know what, we have a fifth, we have an extra. Because some people go, well, you should be training all the time. I understand that, but you can also burn people out that are working 2 jobs and doing.
and I can tell you every single Wednesday night, company drill night, not company drill night, a couple of meeting night, the second Wednesday, that is meeting, and then when the meeting's over, food. Sometimes we order out Chinese, sometimes we order out Italian or whatever. And then every other Wednesday night, that is drill. Drill ends 9 o'clock, 9:30, maybe even 9:45 sometimes. And then we all go upstairs. If it's summertime, we stay outside under the, but if it's wintertime, we go upstairs. We get a full, we call it a training room, but it's sort of like a TV room, and we got a bar in a corner and everything else. And we'll order a couple of pies out and stuff like so. If you came every Wednesday, you could theoretically have a little bit of a meal every Wednesday night, and 3 of them are drills, and one of them is Chiefs night, and one of them is a company meeting, and it's every week. Now, some people, I don't know if you guys do a weekly drill meeting, but some places do every other week. And I said, man, oh man, I know you're volunteers, but once a week is not asking too much for a volunteer fire department. Some places do once every other week. That's like 20 times a year, 24 times a year. If you miss a couple, you're down in the teens. At least if you do it every week, if you miss one here and there, you're still making a couple a month, and you're still getting some decent training in.
That's what we do, the same thing where every Monday night, our first Monday is a business meeting, but then we do drills and some work sessions and stuff. And we do the same thing if there's a 5th Monday. We don't call it Chiefs night, it's more just kind of a brotherhood night. So
Absolutely, same
order
exact thing,
pizzas,
though.
chicken,
Yep,
grill
yep.
up something, whatever else.
It's a big
it's a get
social thing.
together.
Most of my friends at home are guys from South Plymouth Grove. It's not New York City guys. It's guys from South Plymouth Grove,
Well,
Yeah.
it just, I mean, I just think there's a little, we talk about recruitment ideas for volunteer fire departments, and that's, people want to belong to something special. And it's one cool thing to belong to the fire department as a firefighter. It's another thing to belong to the family.
Yeah.
And know that your kids and your spouses are welcome, and your parents and I've always said we call them a firehouse for a reason.
right?
We want kids climbing on the fire engines and looking at everything, the future, we're that's what we do. We're sneaky. We
Yep.
get it going early,
Do you guys have a ladies' auxiliary?
We have in the past, but we do not currently have one. That's
Ours
active.
does the same thing. It was very strong 20 years ago,
Yeah.
when a lot of the members were older men with kids and wives,
Mhm.
and then it became a lot of younger guys.
Mhm.
And actually, a couple of the young girls have joined. A couple of the girlfriends, not even fiancés or wives, but a couple of the young girlfriends have joined. And like lately, we've had a couple of fires and a couple of big jobs, and they were out there. We were still at the fire. They had a table set up, and they had some juice and coffee and donuts and rolls and stuff like that. It was
Yeah.
very, very nice.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Hey, well, you know what? We're here at FDIC. Thank God we're here. It's August and it's been awesome. And April, we're here for the next one.
And the weather cooperated. We
Oh.
talked about that this morning. The weather has cooperated this whole
It
week.
could have
Oh, it's
been
been
horrible
great.
here.
Could have been
In fact,
100 degrees, could have been raining, and
a
it's
week
been,
ago was like the high 90s here and
Yep.
humid and all that stuff. But so as we close things out here, Chris, you first. You got some volunteers, some volunteer career firefighters at home, watching this and have never been here before. What's your hook to get them here? What would you say to get them here in April?
I mean, I'd almost say if you plan on growing at all in the fire service, you have to come out here at least once. Once you're here, you'll see what we're talking about. You'll be hooked. I mean, it's pretty easy to sit at home and do nothing and say, yeah, I care about the fire service. But if you truly care and want to help grow the service, which is what we're all about here, you need to come check it out.
That's pretty cool. Pretty cool, right? Pretty cool.
The networking opportunities here. I mean, the class have been great, but outside of the information you get from those instructors, it's the relationships you build with them. I've already got people. I've shared some pictures of some of the great instructors I've had on my Facebook page, and I've got other firefighters in the area that are like, I'm going to be there next year. I'm going to go with you guys just because that they see the value in that.
And next year, you
So,
guys will have
friends
these.
forever.
See, oh, come on, we're going to Brucas tonight.
I'll show you how it's
Let me
done.
take you over here. There's over here. No, don't use that restroom. It's always crowded. Here's the one you want to use, and we're going to that booth first. And it's like, come on, it's like what the World War II guys. Follow me,
Follow
boys.
me.
That whole thing. And
they'll leave us in the dust. They'll be hooking up with Bobby next year.
yeah, they'll be walking around, Bobby. We'll be like, oh, really? Thanks a lot, guys. But I like what you said. You know, if you want to make a difference, I mean, the movers and shakers in the fire service, we say in class, John, you have to work so hard nowadays to not be interested in the fire service. In the old days, there was a couple magazines, this one, Fire Engineering, this conference, another conference, and the Chiefs Conference, a couple of us teaching, and like 3 books. Nowadays, you have to work, you have to sit down today and go, okay, I have to work really hard to not be interested in the fire service. And like you said, you can sit at home and do nothing.
Yeah.
Or you can make a difference. I like that. So if they want to get a hold of anybody at Wichita West to ask you any questions or like how do we do it, what's the best way to get a hold of you? Good.
You can email me at chief@wichitawestfd.org.
Perfect. Chris, if
That's
they
a
want to
good
get a
one,
hold of
yeah.
you, or same way, is it easier just or the Facebook
Yeah,
page? Or
the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's just Wichita West Fire on all 3 of them. Or you can call our station 940-692-1981.
Wichita West Fire, Wichita West Fire, Wichita West. John, closing thoughts? I know you always
Chief John Salka at gmail.com.
and I'm Chief Lasky at gmail.com. Tammy, thank you so much, our producer, for having us again. We do this every year. We've worked with Tammy for years anyway, besides this, but God bless it. God bless the fire service. You're taking us through the pandemic, another deal, and we've made it, and you've been awesome. So
Thanks.
with that, we want to wish you well. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching. Hope we see you here next year. God bless you. Be safe.